UKIP Steven Woolfe, good morning to you. You're their migration spokesman. That net migration figure of 300,000, is that too much, too little, or about right from a UKIP point of view?
It's too high. It's too high.
What should
because,
it be?
Well, we think we should bring it down to, well, what we try to bring it down is to the historical figures between 25 and 35,000 a year.
And do you prefer immigrants from India and Australia like Nigel Farage?
No, he doesn't say that, nor does our actual policy. I've got the policy.
He did say that in an interview recently.
No, I've got the policy absolutely clear because I thought this might come up. It's absolutely there in my statement on the page that says that what we want.
He was expressing his personal opinion.
Victoria, if I may,
you've asked me a question. You've asked
me 3 questions in the space of 45 seconds, and I'm trying to answer all 3 of them if I could.
Okay. You've answered the 300,000 one. I'm just asking now if you agree with Nigel Farage, you prefer immigrants from India and Australia.
No, his words were that we're trying to have an ethical migration policy because, as you've seen in this debate here, you've got people from a variety of different nationalities and cultures. It's absolutely clear in this debate that people are concerned about immigration, and that's someone else trying to interrupt me now.
Sorry, I don't know where that voice from the gods came from.
But what we have here is like myself. My background is that of an Irish grandmother. I've got a black American grandfather. I've got a Jewish grandmother in there. Many people in this audience have people from different nationalities and races in it. This isn't a question of race. It's more about that of space and the integration that comes from the large numbers. It's about ensuring that we have a balance, because at the moment, as Norman has quite rightly said, the immigration policy that we have in this system at the moment is beneficial for EU citizens, and what UKIP is saying is by introducing an ethical migration policy, you must treat everybody equally, so that we have the doors coming to this country open to the whole world, where we have an Australian points-based system that can help us choose the people that we need to fill the roles here. Because I don't see why a German doctor should actually have a benefit over an Indian doctor if they've both got the skills, the language and the capability, and we need them. And that is the core of any immigration policy, because the immigration policy in the system has broken, and it's not about immigrants, it's about immigration. And often what we find in our debates is that we start talking, as you've heard here, about the immigrants themselves. That isn't the issue, it's the immigration policy, and we've failed on that for years and years, and not just in our country, others as well have recognised that.
And we'll talk more about your point system a little later, because we do have a point system in this country.
Yes, we already have one.
Which was introduced by Labour back in 2005 and opposed by the Conservatives at the time. I'm just going to ask you again, do you prefer immigrants from India and Australia?
I think I've made that absolutely clear. It's in the first pages of the brochure that I was just showing to yourself. We want to have an ethical migration policy that treats everybody in the world equally, giving everybody the access to come here so that we can have those that we need, but it's got to also be fair to those people in this country, which, as you can see in this audience, are different race, colours and creeds, and it's not about who they are or where they come from. This is simply about managing the economy for schools, hospitals, education in the future.
We'll hear from the SNP in just a moment. Hello, gentleman here. Hello.
Yeah.
Do introduce yourself.
I'm Hugo. I'm a master's student here at the University of Sheffield. So my point is for you, Steven Woolfe. First of all, you are a wonderful orator, so thanks for entertaining us all. I do have a question for you. UKIP spends a lot of time demonising low-skilled migrants who come in and take council housing, maybe take benefits, and take other people's jobs. And whether that's true or not is something we can debate. But one thing that has been shown to be pushing people out of their housing, especially in London, is the influx of high-earning migrants who come in as property developers into London and take over council estates, knock them down and build incredibly expensive flats for posh white people to live in. And I wonder, I haven't really seen anything in UKIP's policies which talks about trying to get them out of the system, because those are the people that are really pushing people out of the cities, pushing people into substandard quality of living.
Do you agree with that, Steven Woolfe, that those kind of people are pushing poorer people out?
Well, I think there are certainly 2 points that you've raised on that. I'll deal with the first one in relation to the large number of property deals that have been...
You can talk directly to Hugo.
Sorry. Turn around, I've got myself trapped in the chair there. So what you're quite right is that if you look in a place like London, then you've had a large number of property developments that have been, particularly along the riverbanks and outside, that have been sold first call in Hong Kong to Chinese investors and Asian investors. And I don't think that is a particularly right and fair thing for for us to do, and we certainly mentioned that when you come into housing, we recognise that it's one of the aspects about it, but also you've got to increase the element of demand of people coming into the country. As you've seen in the figures there, we've had net migration of just 298,000, which is a city the size of Liverpool and Aberdeen, and they're not all going to London. A large proportion of them are.
They're coming to the universities and then leaving.
No, I can deal with that as well, because actually I think only David and I are the only two people in the parties have actually suggested that we take university students out of the immigration numbers for net migration figures for the same reasons I agree with David. That when I was at university, most of the people in my last year were actually from Singapore and Hong Kong. They become friends, we've related to each other, they bring investment. And I think we have to deal with, obviously, the overstayers. We also have to deal with those who want to stay here for longer courses afterwards, the first years on the LLMs and the BAs, the PhDs, and have a visa system. That's in my policy. I've put that in absolutely clearly.
Okay.
But the key point you've mentioned is that about numbers. The numbers on wage compression and wage displacement are absolutely clear. There's studies from the United Nations, OECD, it's from the European Union. Our own select committee recently has identified the very clear fact that large-scale migration does push down wages for what they call natives, and that there's no economic studies now that are not indicating that that isn't the case. And that's one thing that we have to issue, and all the parties recognise that now.
Let's bring the SNP. Thank you. Thank you.